Hey there. Welcome to Real Talk Recovery. My name's Bryant. I'm a recovering alcoholic and a gambling addict, and I'm glad you're here. Whether you are just starting your recovery journey, further along, such as myself, supporting someone you care about, or you're just curious, this is the place for you. It's a place of honesty, support, and growth. And it is also a no-frills channel. There's horrible audio. You're going to hear background noise. My voice is probably not going to be EQ'd properly. I'm going to stumble over my words. And I'm not going to edit anything. Because that is also the essence of recovery. It's raw. It's real. And it isn't fancy. Originally, when I put out my intro video, I had this idea of the direction that I wanted to go. And now I kind of realize that I'm just going to wing it. I've never been one to really plan things. I have a general idea, but it is a very, very general idea. And I've realized that in order for people to feel engaged, that just going where the wind takes us is going to do us far more good than it will be to follow a strict plan. So, today we're diving into a topic that flies under the radar far too often. And that's the hidden cost of addiction. And I'm getting more into the nuts and bolts of it because the obvious things like money troubles or strained relationships, yeah, those are talked about. But the deeper, less visible costs are not. These are the costs that they hit you in places that you didn't even know you could hurt. Let's get real about what these costs are, how they show up, and most importantly, how we, as individuals in recovery or individuals supporting someone in recovery, how we navigate them. Let's start with the emotional side of things. Addiction is more than just a physical or behavioral problem. In fact, it realistically is not a physical or behavioral problem. It's an emotional one. I mean, it is a physical and or behavioral problem, yes, but the root of the cause is more often than not an emotional one. And keep in mind that I am not a mental health professional. I'm going to continue to say that and drill that into everyone's head. I am just someone who's been there, who is there, and has the t-shirts to prove it. But like I said before, addiction is more than just a physical or behavioral problem, and it is an emotional one. And these emotional costs, they are massive. There's the guilt, the shame, the regret. But there's also stuff we don't always name. Things like emotional numbness, losing the ability to feel joy, to feel sorrow, or even to have a basic connection with the people around us. And I'll be honest with you, when I look back at the darkest times in my addiction, what stands out the most isn't just the chaos I caused or the chaos that was my life, but the disconnect I felt from myself and others. We as humans, even introverts, are wired to need connection. And without that connection, it drains us. And for a lot of us, we build a wall to protect ourselves from the world. But in doing that, we shut ourselves off from anything good too. And I can tell you from personal experience that I built a huge wall. I absolutely did. And during recovery, when I've dropped those walls, my life may still not be the world's greatest, but I feel a connection to people again. I'm smiling again, which is something I hadn't done for a long time. In rehab, I actually cried for the first time in like a year, but we'll get into that at some other there will be some other topic that I can bring that up too. But the thing is that these walls, they do drop, but the emotional toll, it doesn't just disappear in recovery. When you drop those walls and you stop numbing yourself, you're faced with a flood of feelings that are hard, if not impossible, to manage. It is overwhelming. It's like trying to sort through years of unopened mail. Every letter is a reminder of something that you've avoided. But here's the thing. Those emotions are part of the healing process. They're painful, but they're also proof that you're starting to feel again. And that's progress. One of the greatest lessons I've learned in recovery is how to sit with those emotions instead of running from them. And in rehab, that was kind of a running joke from the counselors to everyone else, was that I'm going to let you sit with that, or I'm going to let you sit in that for a bit. And I'll get why it was a joke, but also not a joke. And I'll tell you one thing, sitting with those emotions, it's not easy. But it is freeing. Sitting with those emotions, you learn that they aren't something to fear. They're signals, they're guides, and they're reminders of what it means to be human. Over time, those walls start to come down. And with them comes a sense of connection, not just to others, but to yourself. Now, let's talk about time. Addiction is a time thief. It steals your days, your weeks, your months. It even steals years from your life. And then it leaves you wondering where they all went. And unlike money or possessions, time isn't something you can earn back. It's gone. The amount of time we have is finite. There is an end. But here's the thing. While we can't recover lost time, we can honor the time we have left. For me, part of recovery has been learning to value time in ways I never did before. That doesn't mean I'm filling every minute with productivity. Good Lord, I am absolutely not. But what it does mean is it means being intentional. Choosing to spend my time on things that bring value to my life and the lives of the people that I care about. When you think about the time you've lost, it crushes you deep down into the pit of your soul. And trust me, I've been there. I'm still there. I still look back and it still crushes me. And it's easy to spiral into these thoughts like, what if I had done things differently? Or how much more could I have achieved? And honestly, I have those thoughts on a regular basis too. But then when I really sit down, I realize the truth. And the truth is that kind of thinking doesn't change anything. What does change things is shifting your focus to the time you have now. Recovery teaches you to live in the present. And when you start doing that, the value of your time skyrockets. And shifting these thoughts is, in my opinion, one of the most difficult things to do in recovery. And that's what cognitive behavioral therapy teaches you. It teaches you to shift your thoughts. But shifting those thoughts, if you're looking at your thoughts as something like a speedometer on your vehicle, let's say you want to go from 0 to 100, okay? Does 0 ever instantly pop up to 100 miles an hour? No. You have to slowly step it up, 1 mile per hour at a time. And that's what CBT does. And that's how you have to work on changing those thoughts. And that's one of the many things I've learned. Changing your thoughts slowly. But more importantly, back to the time, is that the way you use your time moving forward matters so much more than the time you've lost. When you invest in your growth, in meaningful connections, and in giving back to others, you create a life that feels full and purposeful. Recovery is not about making up for the past. It's about building a future that feels worth living. Now, let's go ahead and let's zoom out a bit and talk about the ripple effect of addiction. When you're in the thick of it, it's easy to think your actions only impact you. But addiction is never an isolated event. It affects everyone around you. Your family, your friends, your coworkers, even the person on the street who had to deal with you on a bad day. I think about the people I've hurt. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes without even realizing it. And that's a hard thing to face. There are conversations I'll never get to have. Apologies I'll never get to make. And that's part of the cost. But here's the flip side. Recovery also has a positive ripple effect. Every time we choose to do better, to show up honestly, to repair what's broken, that creates its own waves. positive ones that heal. It is important to acknowledge the harm we've caused, not to dwell on it, but to understand it and to take accountability. That's where real healing begins. For us and the people we've impacted. Recovery isn't just about fixing ourselves. It's about showing up differently for the people in our lives. It's about becoming someone that they can trust again. Someone that they can rely on. And here's the beautiful thing. Just as addiction ripples outwards in harmful ways, recovery ripples outward in healing ways. Every positive choice you make has the potential to inspire someone else. You never know whose life you're touching just by choosing to live differently. That's the power of the ripple effect. A good example is I, as part of my counseling, engage with peer support. And my peer support specialist, yes, he is getting paid. However, he is making positive choices that touch my life, that help me and remind me to continue living better because of his positivity towards me, his genuine interest in my life. That is the power that I was talking about of the ripple effect. You might not know just how much your positivity truly can change someone else. But lastly, let's talk about identity. Addiction doesn't just harm your body or your bank account. It chips away at your sense of self, who you are, what you stand for, what you're capable of. It all gets blurred. For the longest time, I saw myself only through the lens of my mistakes. I was the alcoholic, the gambler, the screw up. And breaking free from those labels, that is hard work. In recovery, you have to confront those labels head on. You have to ask yourself, who am I really? And who do I want to become? It's not an easy process, and it definitely does not happen overnight. But with time and effort, you start to rebuild. You start to remember that you're more than the worst thing you've done. You start to believe in your own potential again. Reclaiming your identity, it's not about erasing the past. It's about integrating it. It's about recognizing that your struggles have shaped you, but they don't define you. You get to decide what kind of person you want to be moving forward. And that's an incredible opportunity. You are a person with value. You are a person with purpose. And you have the ability to create a life that reflects who you truly are. Like I said before, recovery isn't just about putting down the drink or the drug. It's about picking up the pieces of yourself and creating something stronger, something resilient. Addiction's hidden costs are heavy. There's no doubt about it. But here's the good news, and I've hit on this so much, and I will continue to hit on this, is that those costs don't have to define your future. Recovery is about finding the courage to face them, the strength to work through them, and the determination to rebuild. If this message resonates with you, or if you know someone who might need to hear it, share this video. And don't forget, recovery is a journey, and none of us are doing it alone. And as always, remember one thing: progress, not perfection. I'll talk at you again soon.